Several times it says in the Bible, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Let's take a look at today's readings. This is from Exodus. And the Lord said to Moses, "Go to the people and consecrate them today and tomorrow. Have them wash their clothes and be ready by the third day, because on that day the Lord will come down on Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. Put limits for the people around the mountain and tell them, be careful that you do not approach the mountain or touch the foot of it. Whoever touches the mountain is to be put to death. They are to be stoned or shot with arrows. Not a hand is to be laid on them. No person or animal shall be permitted to live. Only when the ram's horn sounds a long blast may they approach the mountain." If someone approaches the mountain that the Lord is to descend upon and touches the mountain, not only are they to be killed, they're to be stoned or shot with arrows, because it is unholy even to touch a person who would do a thing like that. This is the furthest concept that we have of what it means to know God, to honor God, to be holy. This is as far as we can imagine relating to God, the way the religion is presented to us in our parishes and in our churches and our parish schools of religion. This is the fear of the Lord. Now, students, why would God say this? Why would he say, if you approach the mountain that I'm going to descend upon and touch it, not only will you be liable to be killed, but no one can even touch you. You have blasphemed, you have committed such a sacrilege by approaching the mountain that I will descend upon. You know, there's a story later where people accidentally touch the Ark of the Covenant, or they do so to steady it, and they're killed on the spot. We can't imagine this. Why would God say that, students? That's my question to you. Let's take a look at another section here. This is from Ecclesiasticus or Sirach. The fear of the Lord is glory and exultation, gladness and a festive crown. Remember now, this book is about wisdom. The fear of the Lord rejoices the heart, gives gladness, joy, and long life. Those who fear the Lord will be happy at the end. Even on the day of death, they will be blessed. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. She is created with the faithful in the womb. Now, those of you who took this class last semester will remember that wisdom is often personified as a woman in the wisdom literature of the Old Testament. This doesn't mean that wisdom is an actual female created creature, but it's a literary way of talking about wisdom. She is to be desired by men, therefore she's personified as a woman. She is to be someone that we are devoted to, or something that we are devoted to, as men would be toward women, or should be toward women. So again, we have the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Now this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 1. Bam, bam, bam. Look how many times he says that in that first chapter. The fear of the Lord, the fear of the Lord, the fear of the Lord. What is the fear of the Lord? And why do we even have to ask that question these days? If the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, how stupid are we? We can't even begin to be wise because we can't imagine such a fear. We don't even know what it means. We're going to talk about this in class, but this is my question for you, students, Homeschool Connection students. Put this in your comments today on Moodle. Let's look at a little bit more. Later in Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 1:26, if you desire wisdom, yeah, I do desire wisdom. I want to be smart. What should I do? Keep the commandments, and the Lord will bestow her upon you. Oh, come on. I don't want that. I just want wisdom. I don't want to have to do any work, and I certainly don't want to keep the commandments. Isn't there another deal? Well, what do we see in our gospel reading for today? And he said unto him, this is Jesus talking to the young man, why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is God. But if thou wilt enter into life, do you want eternal life? Do you want wisdom? Do you want nearest to God? That's what the young man has asked Jesus. Good Rabbi, how shall I enter into eternal life? And the answer Jesus gives, the first answer is, keep the commandments. Later he says, elsewhere he says in the Gospel of John, if you love me, keep my commandments. He, the young man, saith unto him, which? Jesus said, thou shalt do no murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, honor thy father and mother, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Now, of course, this reading goes on from there, but I want to focus on that point. What do I have to do to be a good Christian? Keep the commandments. Well, okay. Well, what do I have to do to be wise? Well, interestingly, virtue comes before wisdom. You can't be wise if you're not good. Wisdom is a high gift. Now, the commandments. We're going to hear more about the commandments a little bit later. And of course, Jesus takes the commandments and he intensifies them. Most of us, I think, can say, well, I haven't committed murder. Most of us can say that. Maybe not all of my students, but most of my students can say that. But of course, Jesus says, if you harbor resentment in your heart against your neighbor, you are guilty of that commandment, of breaking that commandment. So we begin with fear of the Lord. And then we follow the commandments. We stay within the border that's been set around the mountain of God. Chesterton talks about children playing in a grassy field that's on the top of a cliff. And the adults who care for the children put a fence around the cliff so the kids don't play and then fall off the cliff. That's what the commandments are. We hate the commandments because we're sinful creatures. Fear of God, follow the commandments. If you can't do those two, you can't start. It's like, if you don't read the text, you're going to flunk the quiz. If you don't show up in class, you're not going to know what the teacher says. There are certain sine qua nons. There are certain things without which nothing else can happen. Without the fear of the Lord, you will never begin to understand what our faith is. And without following the commandments, you can never be wise. You can never really understand life, much less eternal life.